The Caustic Knight is a really fun acidy type build for the Dragonknight modded class, so we're going to jump into it. That means we're going to start with level 1 and our Dragon Knight. Now if we come to our proficiencies, you will see we have spikes, spears, halberds, glaives, light armour and shields. We also gain skills in like athletics, stealth, arcana, all that sort of stuff. Now for your cantrips, we are going to take poison spray and we're going to take firebolt. And for your first level spells, we're going to take inflict wounds, really nice damage dealer. You can upcast this to pump out some serious damage as well. And we're going to take shield, nice reactionary spell to just boost your AC, ensuring you can tank as much as possible. For Draconic Candy Richard, pick whatever you feel like. There is no impact on gameplay, it's just for design looks. And that's going to bring us the Caustic Knight. You melt armour and flesh of your enemies, your chromatic heritage is acid. This will give you a skill of basic science, so you know how to counter acid. You're immune to acid condition and noxious fumes. Acid splash as a cantrip, and grease as a spell. For your ability points, we're going to have 16 strength, 10 dexterity, 14 constitution, 10 intelligence, 8 wisdom, and 16 charisma. For your proficiencies, take whatever you feel like. For Dragon Knight level 2, we get a new spell and a passive. Now for that we get one more spell, and for this one we are going to take Hellish Rebuke. Nice reactionary dex-based fire spell that you can use, and I love it. And we get Draconic Talent, and for this one we're going to take the Vigour of Tiamat, give you 7 temporary hit points at the start as soon as you leave camp. Dragon Knight level 3 gives you Chromatic Infusion. This one we get to infuse our weapon with 1 to 4 acid damage, as well as a +1 bonus to attacks and damage rolls until long rest. We get one more spell at this point, and for this one, we're going to take the Chromatic Orb. And we get a fighting style, and I personally, for this one, would take Defense. Again, +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor. Dragon Knight level 4 gives you your first feat. Now before that, we get one more spell, and for this one, we're going to take Searing Smite. Deal an extra 1 to 6 fire damage, and set your target on fire. It takes 1 to 6 fire damage every turn, is concentration based. And we get a new feat, and for this one, we're going to take the ability score improvement and bump strength up to 18. Now level 5 grants you an extra attack, so if you make an attack on your turn, you can follow up with another attack for free. This does not work with spells though, so bear that in mind. You can't do a spell and then do another spell, it's only for melee or ranged weapon attacks. And Melf's Acid Arrow as a spell, this is awesome. Shoot a green arrow that covers the target and the ground with acid. It will deal 4 to 16 acid damage immediately, and then 2 to 8 acid damage at the end of the target's turn. Nice little delayed damage dealer as well. We get one more spell, and at this point, I would take Spiritual Weapon, let's just get an extra summon on the battlefield. Dragon Knight level 6 gives you your Chromatic Resistance, so the blood of ancient dragons flows through your veins, you're resistant to acid damage. We get one more spell, so we're going to take Scorching Ray for this one. Dragon Knight level 7 brings you Aura of Chromatic Fury Acid, so you deal acid damage, or 3 acid damage, to any enemies who end their turn within 3 meters. The more you bump your charisma up, because that is your spell casting modifier, the more damage you'll do, up to 5 if you max it out. We get one more cantrip at this point, so for this one I would take something like Sacred Flame or Resistance. And we get one more spell, and I would personally take Compelled Duel. Force an enemy to attack only you, giving it disadvantage against other targets. Dragon Knight level 8 brings you your next feat. Now before that we do have some more spells to pick, so we're going to take Ensnaring Strike. And for an ability improvement for your feat, we're going to take our strength to 20. The Dragon Knight level 9 brings you one of my favourite spells in the entire game, that is the Hunger of Hadar. Creatures within this black sphere are blinded and take damage at the end of their turn and at the start of their turn. So a creature starting their turn within this will take 2 to 12 cold damage, and if they end their turn within it, it's 2 to 12 acid damage. The area is also considered difficult terrain. It's a great spell, but it is concentration based, so bear that in mind. We get one more spell at this point, so for this one I would take the Glyph of Warding. I spoke about this spell a lot. Essentially you place it on the ground, when an enemy walks into it, it will trigger with whatever damage you chose, but I like using it like a bomb. Place it down on a bunch of enemies on your turn, and what will happen is, when you end your turn, because enemies are within the sphere, it will explode. Dragon Knight level 10 brings you your next feat. Before that we get one more spell, and for this one I would take a Lightning Bolt. We're going to take the feat, we're going to take the ability to improvement and bump our charisma up to 18. Dragon Knight level 11 brings you 80 hit points. We get one more spell at this point, and I would personally take Fear. I think Fear is a great little spell. And then finally, level 12, we get our fourth and final feat. Now, I personally would take the ability score improvement and bump my charisma up to 20. If you want to, you could pick Savage Attacker, which would mean you roll your damage dice twice and take the highest amount. Choice is really yours. Okay, let's go over equipment, and we're going to start with Savarok's Horned Helmet. This will bring you dark vision up to 3 meters, or 15 if you already have it. Reduces the number we need to land a critical hit down to 19. We cannot be frightened or affected with other emotion-altering conditions, and a Constitution saving throw +1. For a cloak, we're also going to tie into the Caustic Knight abilities we have. Whenever we deal damage to a creature who hits us, let me rephrase this. Whenever a creature hits us, and it deals melee damage, it will take 1 to 4 acid damage. For boots, the Blackguard Greaves gives you Long Strider and Athletics +1. We're going to take the Reaper's Embrace, very rare heavy armor, reduces all incoming damage by 2, gives you Reaper's Rigidity, so when activated, you can't be moved against your will by any spell or action, and it will give us Howl of the Dead. If we come into here for Howl of the Dead, to check that out, let out Bone Chill in Hell that numbs all nearby enemies for 3 turns. For gloves, we're going to take the Legacy of Masters, plus your bonus to attack and damage rolls. We're going to take the Shifting Corpus Ring, Invisibility and Blur, as well as the Caustic Band, so we deal 2 extra acid damage with our attacks. This pairs very nicely with the Amulet of Misty Step to help us get around the battlefield, since we are going to be tanking. For a sword, I like the Blackguard Sword. We deal slashing damage, we have added Necrotic on it. Now, Dazzling Smites. On hit infused with one of your smites, the Titan will see this Constitution saving throw, it will become dazed. We have Searing Smite, remember, so bear that in mind. And for a shield, you can really take anything. I like taking the Absolute Protector because it gives you Fire Shield Chill as a spell, but really you can pick any shield that will give you extra AC. So that is our build. Let's go find some combat and check it out. Okay, so we've just left camp and we have a few things to do. First thing is our Draconic Gift, so let's get those 7 temporary hit points. And the second thing we need to do is we need to boost our weapon attacks. And we're going to do that through the use of Chromatic Infusion. And there we go. So now our weapon's infused, we have our false life going, we're pretty sorted. Okay, we are in the combat, so let's start doing some stuff. We're going to run up here first, and I'm going to show you our Smite, so you can see those abilities in play. Searing Smite, we'll do it at 2nd level. And there you go, you see we did the acid, the fire, the normal, as well as the necrotic, and they have burning. And because that is a normal attack, it just uses your bonus action to cast the spell. We can follow up with our extra attack, just like that. And you see, they took 5 fire damage from being burned. Okay, and because we're a spellcaster, we do have a plethora of spells to choose from. So first I'm going to start with our spiritual weapon. We'll do it at 2nd level because there is no increase at all. And we'll get that going here. So we've got a nice little summon. Next thing we're going to do is we have multiple options here. So let's start with a Melf's Acid Arrow. We'll do this at 3rd level because why not? And you see the range is actually pretty good. You have very good range with this attack. If we put it here, we are going to get some damage or some friendly fire, but it's kind of worth it for the demonstration. And there you go, you can see we got 15 base damage on them, as well as they're going to take damage when they end their next turn. Like I said though, the only disadvantage is you can't follow up with an extra attack. Now you see the enemy took 2 damage from actually hitting us, and they just took 7 damage from the Melf's Acid Arrow delay damage. And of course, like I said, it's all about finishing the fight as you can. And in these sort of episodes here where you are tanking efficiently, you can do that. We also can continue doing our things like our smites or our ensnaring strikes. So if you want to try and hold down the barbarians, for example. Now unfortunately they saved the ensnaring strike, but we did do a little bit of damage. And we can follow up with our axe and pile out some more. And again, our lovely spiritual weapon can do really good solid damage every turn.
Can't even catch my breath.
And while that's doing that, for example, we can come up here and we can use some of our other spell casting abilities, such as the Hunger of Adar. So we're going to place this in this direction. We're going to stand right on the edge, And there you go. Now they're both within it, so they're going to take cold damage and acid damage for being inside, and it's difficult terrain and they cannot see. Benefit of this is if we back up slightly, just like that, if the enemies come towards the edge here, we can sort of cut them off, possibly, and we can still hit them within it. There you go, you see they took the cold damage, tried to attack us, and they're stuck within the hunger, which means they just took more acid damage. There you go, you see more cold damage, a nice miss because they're blinded, a second nice miss, and it looks like they're probably going to escape, although actually they might still be in it, they are still within it. And then they took more acid, or they actually made their save on that one. But you get the gist, you can really choke the people out in this position. And again, you can rely on the old faithful spiritual weapon to finish the fight. And the other good thing is, if you can, because it will climb ladders, you can send it within the Hunger of Hadar. The other thing is, because we're using Savrok's Horned Helm, we actually have the ability, we can cast spells into the Hunger and keep enemies taking damage. For example, if we do our Scorching Rays, it's not a lot of damage because we are targeting a rogue, unfortunately, but you get the gist. We can really just hold them in place. We could even do something like Chromatic Fury, or we could even do our Howl of the Dead if we wanted to. So let's do our Chromatic Fury in case they run towards us. And there we go. It's not concentration based, doesn't use a spell slot, it's a class feature. And we'll just close the distance a tiny bit if possible. Just like that. And there you go, you see they took the cold damage just then. Staying within the hunger. And you see they took 2 acid damage then as well. So if you can place this on top of a bunch of people, you can really just make these choke points. I paired this really well with Edvar's Black Tentacles inside Moonrise Towers, and it was just phenomenal. Now see, the spiritual weapon will take damage from being within the hunger, but what the benefit is, it's just a summon, it's not an actual ally. So you can spin your spiritual weapon in, start dealing some solid damage to the enemy, and we can even start running in. Start piling out some damage, just like that, and we can leave again. There you go, so you take 1 more cold damage, and ideally they'll take 2 acid damage on the next turn, and then perish. Now unfortunately they made their saving throw, but you get the gist of this. See, more damage on this one. This one's at half health now, just for standing within our AoE for like 4 turns or whatever. And once again, we send our spiritual weapon in to finish the fight up here.
Time to push my luck again.
And we have our lovely Caustic Knight down here, who, if we need to, we can send in a nice little Melf's Acid Arrow again on this target. Imagine the things aren't in the way. To finish that as well. And then it really is just a case of hunting down the final person, and because we've got something such as our spells, or even our Misty Step, we could close the gap that way. So that's what we're going to do. We'll Misty Step to here with our bonus action, and then very easily we can just swing for the fences, just like that. It's an awesome frontliner you can do with the Hunger of Hadar. Make those choke points, you stand on the edge and you can just throw spells into there. You can send your spiritual weapon into it, or you can run in and you can run back out because we don't take acid damage. Overall, just a really fun build you can do. So I really hope you have enjoyed this video. If you have, please drop the episode a like, it helps me tremendously. If you're new and haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. I've got more guides for Baldur's Gate, I've got them for Dragon to Belgar, Path of Exile 2, all that fun stuff, as well as Let's Plays and everything else like that. Regardless, I really do hope you've enjoyed, and if you have, hopefully, I'll see you in the next one. Bye guys.